So I want to show you how to make a really cute Isomalt lollipop. And for this project, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need gloves of your choice so we stay safe. You're going to need some cooking spray. We're going to be using that cookie spray on our cutters. These are biscuit cutters, and I've got 3 different sizes. We're going to be using that to oil the inside. I've got some sprinkles. You can use whatever color you want. I'm going with a lemonade theme, so I'm doing some pinks and some yellows, some white. I've got some edible frosting sheets here. These are really fun. These happen to be stickers. They come right off. I'm going to be using the lemonade theme. And then I have another frosting sheet here in coordinating patterns that I'm also going to be using for my lollipops. So the one thing you just want to keep in mind when you're making lollipops and you want some sort of graphic design on them, you want to use a frosting sheet that has been put through an edible printer. I'm also going to need some clear isomalt that I've already cooked down, a spatula to keep things moving, and my scriber tool so that I can poke any air bubbles that I need to. Next, we want to use our cooking spray to coat our biscuit cutters. You're going to want to do that to all of your biscuit cutters that you're using for lollipops. And you'll want to do that in between. So if you make another set, you want to grease those. And this is so that the isomalt will release. Then we just want to line it up with our sticker. I've gone ahead and heated up my isomalt in 15 to 30 second increments in the microwave. I let the bubbles dissipate, and now I'm just pouring it into my mold right on top of my frosting sheet. From here, I'm using my scriber tool to pop any air bubbles that have come to the surface. You can also use your torch to hit any of those little air bubbles that have come to the surface, and they will dissipate. Gonna let this sit for about 15 minutes, and then we can just pop it out. Next, using a lollipop stick, I'm just gonna dip it in a little bit of that warm isomalt. I'm gonna place it on my mat, and then I will center my lollipop right on top. From here, I'm just gonna add my embellishments using some of my favorite sprinkles. I'll use a little bit of the isomalt as my glue to stick it in place. This is super easy, and it just adds a little bit of dimension to the lollipops. I also have some fun lemon sugar lay-ons that I'm going to add to my lollipops. Using some of that isomalt again for glue, I'm going to go ahead and place that right onto my lollipops. If you have any little threads of isomalt that stick to the lollipop, you can just hit it with your torch and they'll disappear. It's almost like spun sugar. So just hit it with your torch and it'll go right away. Next, I'm gonna add a really cute sugar lay-on flower that I think will look nice. I try to match the different things that show up in the graphic design of the edible image. Next, I'm gonna add a little bit of warm sugar to my mat because I want to dip some of these lollipops in my sprinkles. So I'm just gonna go around the outer edge of the lollipop and get some of that warm sugar on there, and then I'll just simply press it into my sprinkles and it will adhere just to where that warm isomalt is. I want to show you how to make this really fun and very trendy isomalt sail. So I've actually combined 2 sails here, and I'm going to show you how to do this. But for this project, what you're going to need is 2 different colors of isomalt. We're going to need our gloves for safety. We're going to need our torch. You're going to need some clips. So I've got some clips that I got at the office supply store. You could also use clothespins. We need a pastry silicone mat. Very, very flexible. That's the key. You want one that is super, super flexible because we're going to be pouring our isomalt onto it. So it needs to be able to be flexible. You're gonna need your scriber tool to pop out any bubbles, air bubbles. We're gonna need our handy dandy spatulas to keep everything moving. And then you're going to need 2 different types of objects. We're gonna be laying this pastry mat over the object to create our sail. So I'm using a milk bottle for one of my sails. The other, I just have this cake pedestal. I'm gonna flip it upside down and I'm gonna use this side of it for to create my sail on. So let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna heat up our isomalt, we're gonna get our mat ready, and I'm gonna show you how to begin pouring. I've warmed up my isomalt and my mat is ready to go, and I'm just gonna freeform this right into the middle of the mat. Next, I'm gonna take that warm sugar and place it over the top of my milk bottle, and I'm just gonna crimp and fold the sides in using those clips. You just wanna make sure that you have nice little folds. I'm gonna go ahead and repeat that process to do my double sail. So I'm using a different object this time, but again, same process, letting that sugar drip down and clip it in place. This is why you want a really flexible mat. From here, I'm just gonna let this set up. Now we just wanna very, very carefully remove the mat from our isomalt sail. I've let this sit up for a couple of hours before I remove it. Once I'm happy with the arrangement of my two sails, I'll secure them together with a little bit of isomalt. And then when I go to put it on my cake, I will only put it on a fondant covered cake, and I will adhere it with a little more isomalt to the fondant. So the next thing I'd like to do with isomalt is show you how to use it in molds. So I've got this heat-proof silicone mold that is food safe. So that's the key. You want to make sure that you've got a food safe, heat tolerant mold. So if you are going to say a craft store and you buy just like one of those plastic chocolate molds, that won't work. Your isomalt will actually melt through that. So you want a silicone mold, one that is food safe and also heat safe. So this is a fun little chandelier gem one, and you can see I made some fun little pieces with it. So you're gonna need that. You'll need your mold, you'll need color of your choice, pre-cooked isomalt, your torch, your gloves so that we are safe. You will also need your scriber tool, and you'll need a spatula to keep it all moving. I've gone ahead and heated up my isomalt. I've let the bubbles dissipate, and just using a nice flexible cup, I'm gonna go ahead and pour right into my mold. You're gonna wanna let these sit for about 10 to 15 minutes or until the isomalt no longer feels warm to the touch. Just repeat the process with all of your molds. I like to use my veinner tool to push any of the isomalt into the nooks and crannies that I might have missed because it's such a small space. You could also use a toothpick if you don't have a veinner tool. Once you've given your isomalt molds and your gems enough time to set up and they're no longer warm to the touch, you can simply pop them out. And you are going to want to take your torch and hit it. Hitting it with the torch will just make your gems super, super clear and really sparkly. So depending on the quality of your mold, this will be an important step just to make sure that you've got a really nice, beautiful piece. You can make these pieces up well in advance, store them in Tupperware with your food safe desiccant packs.